And what is good, my people? We are back in the building. It is Chop It Up 2020, episode 3. I'm so glad you're here right now, wherever you are. You have to start pushing like. You have to start pushing share. You got to repost, retweet, whatever you're doing. Tell somebody about Chop It Up 2020 going on live right now. I am your host, proud to be host, Michael Polite. I currently serve as the youth director of the South Central Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. And listen, we've been having a major weekend this weekend. We have had multiple episodes. We have had recording artists. We've had poets. We have had pastors. We have had student organizers. We've had leaders of all types. We've had different ethnicities. We've had people from different countries. Listen, Chop It Up is all about creating this very tolerant and inclusive space where we can just dialogue about what we're facing in life. All too often in many of our church communities, we have a fear of vulnerable discourse. We have a fear of talking about new ways, new things. We have a fear of being transparent and open, for fear of judgment or rejection, or maybe even for fear of being ostracized from a community. But let me tell you this. Chop It Up is not that place. We are not afraid of the new and the improved, and we are definitely not afraid of vulnerability and transparency. So I want to thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you not only for taking the time to chill with us here this evening, but also giving of yourself as it pertains to word of mouth. Like I said, right now, you need to be hitting people up wherever you are. You need to be telling them, yo, we live streaming right now from three different locations. You can see that right there on your screen. We're super excited because let me tell you, we have been on a tear since Friday night. We kicked off with this panel. And this panel is amazing. If you have not seen episode 1, you got to go back, hit us up on YouTube. Just type it in, Chop It Up 2020. It'll come up for you. You got to watch episode 1, Pastor Judith, our student organizer, Pace Fordham, and then my man, Kalante Gavin. All he was doing was dropping bombs throughout the whole evening. And then at 12 noon this afternoon, we kicked it off again. And we had this amazing panel, Pastor Tina Carragher, student organizer, Kaylin Griffin. And then we had the one and the only Ezekiel Azanwu with us. And listen, we just got into this thing on religion. We got into a conversation about religion. What's the true stuff? What's the fake stuff? What's the contrived stuff? All of that has happened. And here you are today. Listen, you are in the right place at the right time. Manufactured versus authentic forgiveness. And we have this esteemed panel that is going to be bringing us some major knowledge, dropping some stuff on us. I hope you soak it in, just like a plant in the spring underneath a beautiful rain shower. I just hope you soak it all in, that you tell yourself, this is the place to be. I was meant to be here. I am here on purpose. I'm not here on accident. And listen, as I think about what I'm so excited about as it pertains to tonight, it has to be, it has to be the announcement of our virtual scavenger hunt winners. Listen, I gotta start by bringing in our very own pastor, Kim Mann. Listen to the graphics up on the screen. We have people racing around from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. this afternoon doing a virtual scavenger hunt. Yes, that's right, folks. That is a scavenger hunt that is very much embracing the social distancing. You can do it from the privacy of your own home. You could partner with somebody in Korea if they were watching and if they signed up. So I want to bring her in right now. Pastor Kim, this is major what you brought to us. Don't give us who won yet, but tell me what you saw as you were watching people via virtual reality race around to try to finish out this scavenger hunt.
So listen, let me tell you guys, the best part of the scavenger hunt was tallying up the points. All of your submissions had me crying. Like, you guys went all out. I cannot wait to show our South Central Conference family and our family out there. I'm gonna have to put a collage together of just how creative everybody was. So one of the challenges, they had to pretend to be Zacchaeus and take a picture of themselves in a tree looking for Jesus. Yo, my people got mad creative. It was people weighing trees. It was people looking around. Like, it was so amazing. And then one of my favorite challenges was they had to recreate the baptism scene between Jesus and John. And so they got extra points if their parents let them baptize them. And so we had kids in their bathtubs baptizing their parents, simulating John baptizing Jesus. That thing was so
No,
good.
wait, whoa. I have never heard of kids saying, yo, I need to baptize you. Now,
Yes.
that is theologically a leap for the church. When kids look at their parents and say, let me baptize you right now, it is urgent. Are you telling me they sent in footage of them baptizing their parents?
Take me to the water to be baptized. I'm talking about parents were like, we gonna win this. Had the Walmart bag wrapped around their heads because you can't get the hair wet. Walmart bags, the shower cap. The kid had the whole washcloth and was like, we gonna do this today. And they literally were baptizing their parents. It was so much fun just to see how creative everybody got. They had to put on the full armor of God, but they could only use what was in their house. So people had on aluminum foil. People had cans of Lysol. Listen, if you would have told me before Corona that a can of Lysol would be part of the armor of God, I wouldn't have believed you. But on this day here, I believe you that if you have a can of Lysol, you are equipped for battle, okay? So
I received that word. I received that, man. Spiritual warfare with Lysol up in this piece.
Yes. So it was so good just to see how creative everybody got. Parents, young people, families, everybody was involved using their creativity in order to complete these challenges. I cannot wait for you all to see the submissions. I'm going to put them together in a slideshow. We'll show them next Friday night. We do our Federation Friday nights, and we'll show it. We'll put it on our Facebook page as well, just so you guys can get a glimpse. Because I know a lot of people wanted to see what was happening, but you couldn't see unless you were playing the game. So we're going to give y'all a little taste of what we did. And, it was a trial run. This was something that we've never done before, something that's brand new to our conference. And so we had a couple of technical difficulties and glitches. Thank you all, everybody out there, for being patient and long suffering, having the fruit of the Spirit, and working with us. But once the game got started, man, that thing was fun. Somebody texted me and told me that their kids had so much fun and they loved it. And they had a wonderful Sabbath because they were all working together. And then someone else texted me and they mentioned to me that they got over 10,000 steps today.
My goodness.
So they were working in the spirit and they were keeping their bodies healthy. Okay, they was doing temperance and having fun at the same time.
Yo,
so
somebody was sweaty as a mug when they got off of this thing.
I said, everybody who participated is gonna sleep good tonight. Everybody. And so it was a lot of fun, and I hope that we'll be able to do this again. Again, we had some kinks and glitches, but we were able to work through those. And
Yeah.
I think we have found something that can be fun for us to continue to do.
Man, I love this. Listen, Pastor Kim, I'm just so glad that you are willing to lead us in this new innovative experience of a virtual scavenger hunt. Who could have thought that there was an app made for people to be able to race in their own sphere against teams in their sphere? I mean, that is just, I mean, it's just huge. It's just huge.
And it was great because you could still maintain social distancing and still be able to have fun and do these things, you know, from where you were. So it was just an exciting experience to watch. And like I said, going through the submissions, and let me tell you something, our people are competitive. Competitive is an understatement, okay? Like folks is doing all of the most to make sure that their team won. Like, did you make sure you got my points? Make sure you give me my 3 points. I'm like, I got you. So we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Thank you to everybody who signed up and participated. We had more people than we even anticipated, so we had to make some adjustments for that. But it was a good time had by everybody.
That is such amazing news. Now, you mentioned social distancing. Pastor Kim, and listen, I think it's very appropriate for us to take this time in episode 3 to make some space for us to revisit all that we have been going through, just as a collective community of human beings around the planet. We were all unified through pain and suffering, through discomfort, through this thing called quarantining. All of us, for at least a period of 3 months or so, could look at another person and say, to some extent, I know what you're going through. And so I think that level of pain builds a solidarity and a unity and an empathy amongst us that cannot be underestimated. So I actually want you to watch this video with me, Pastor, because I think it totally encapsulates how we've all been feeling as we've been dealing with COVID-19.
Absolutely.
Life is fragile. It's a fact we're learning in real time, every day. What we once called normal has seemingly disappeared. There's uncertainty in the air, restlessness in our hearts. Things we once took for granted are becoming difficult to find. Our usual day-to-day has evolved into this odd chaos. Peace is becoming obsolete. Many have lost jobs, security, and those they love. The pain is undeniable. But what if our fragility caused us to lean harder into God? What if, in our weakness, we chose to rely more on His strength? Would our outlook change? Would the peace that passes understanding begin to drown out the noise of this moment? Would we walk in a quiet confidence, knowing our God is mighty to save? We're not promised tomorrow, but we are given a simple truth to stand on. Our God goes before us. He will never leave us. He will never forsake us. Yes, life is fragile. But in our weakness, He is strong.
Man, Pastor Kim, so real. So real. And a huge shout out to all of the frontline responders who placed themselves in harm's way to make sure that other people could get the aid and assistance that they needed. I mean, man, Pastor Kim, you've gone through this pandemic pregnant. I mean, Goodness gracious, talking about being concerned. I mean, like, how have you dealt with the stress and the anxiety of COVID-19?
By eating ice cream. Okay, no. I mean, really, it has been stressful. And really, I mean, kind of like what the video says, like tomorrow's not promised, but you have to hold on to the promises of God that you have for today. And I've just had to hold on to the promises that, you know, like what God said, like I've knit you together in your mother's womb. So even though I can't see, I can't go to the doctors like I normally would. I'm having to do things via like teleconference and all of that. I have to trust that God is knitting this baby together in ways that I can't see. And if I can be perfectly honest, we had a conversation a while back that really stuck with me, that I'm really in this moment channeling the strength of my ancestors and those who came before me, who literally carried babies while they worked in cotton fields and while they ran for freedom and while they were on ships and boats, and they survived. And I am the product of those mothers who carried their babies in worse conditions than a pandemic. I have the luxury of being at home. I have the luxury of having my feet up. I have the luxury of working on a computer. And so I channel the strength of the mothers that came before me, who literally had to carry their babies through the pandemic of slavery. And their babies survived and thrived and were okay. And so that's where I have been channeling my strength from, is that if my great-great-grandma could do it and hold on to the promises of God, then I can do it and hold on to the promises of God. So that's been really empowering and powerful. And I've just had to hold on to the promises of God, that he's knitting the baby together, that he's got me, that he's not going to let, Psalms 91, he's not going to let anything come to my door that's going to hurt me or my family or my children. And I've just been trying to do that and stay sane in the midst of not being able to go out and experience community. But I received that in this moment, I am able to have a divine connection that I haven't had with my other pregnancies, because I've been ripping and running and moving, and the challenges of being a wife, a mom, a minister, a pastor, a chaplain. I've never been able to just channel and spend singular time with God and embracing this moment where I get to participate in creation. So that's been new for me. That's been awesome for me. So with these challenges comes its blessings, and can't wait to meet this little girl.
And we can't wait to meet her. And just a huge shout out once again to all of those who have been serving us during this time, our frontline responders. We cannot thank you enough. From the medical field to the human resources field to the social work field, and even to the financial institutions that have been giving people a break. We want to say thank you to you for your service and your care. Pastor Kim, for me, COVID-19 has actually been a time of trying to gain some understanding about not only myself, but also what is going on inside my head. Like, we create a lot of the reality that we see. As a matter of fact, I read one book say that your outside is only a reflection of your inside. So if you want to change what you see outside of you, you must first go inward and shift what is inside of you. Man, I've been taking that, and I've been using COVID-19 as the universe giving me permission. Like, God is looking down on me, giving me permission to step back and gain that renewed perspective of things. And, one of the things that have come up most for me in this season is I've been reconnecting with the word love, because that word love has been, it's just become cliche for so many people. And I think it's fitting for us tonight to have our scripture moment. We've been doing these creative scriptural moments.
And I've been loving it. It's been awesome.
Haven't they been good? Like, this is what scripture reading should be. We should take people to the scriptures using our artistic creativity.
Yeah.
But tonight's scripture reading is all about love. And so, I think for everyone who's watching this and who's ever really trying to seek some direction in your life and trying to seek some, I guess, perspective, renewed perspective about what to do now in the world, especially as we're all still being limited in many different ways. Check out this video. I think it might give you something to chew on.
In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus is asked the question, "Which is the greatest commandment?" He answered, "Love God with all of your heart, and with all of your soul, and with all of your mind. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself." And then again, at the Last Supper, he says the same thing, but with a twist. "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. By this all people will know that you are my disciples." This time, Jesus replaced your neighbor with one another. This new love that Christ commands of us goes much deeper than the Old Testament commandment he was quoting in Matthew. The people we have been commanded to love has expanded beyond our neighborhoods to include, well, everyone. And this includes people who might make this commandment a bit difficult, like that confrontational coworker who just seems impossible to get along with, or your in-laws who've never treated you like a part of the family, or maybe the person you just met, who you don't even know and really need some help. You see, Jesus knew his physical time on earth was nearing an end. So in this new take on the old commandment, Jesus also made another change. The words "as yourself" became "as I have loved you." Wow, that's a tough act to follow. Christ's sacrificial life provides a clear and concrete example of real and true love. And he put this love on display on a daily basis with his disciples. He was patient with them, speaking kindly and showing great concern for their welfare. He instructed, counseled, and comforted them, prayed with them and for them. He admonished them for wrongdoing, and yet compassionately bore with their failings. And most of all, he gave his life, dying so that they and we might live. According to Jesus, this is how others will know that you are one of his followers, not because you have a shirt or a bumper sticker that says so, not because we announce it from a stage or a blog or a status update, but because they look at you, at how you live, the things you do and say, and they see Jesus. They see love.
And that's what it's all about. It's all about making sure people can see love in you. Or as one teacher that I love listening to puts it, you must become love. So we're not trying to show love, we become love, and that love pours out on others. So I'm just super excited about our celebrity guest that's in the building. She is here, Minister Keyla Richardson. Before we bring her onto the stage, I got to make sure we establish some house rules, because people get a little buck and crazy when they start chopping it up. And so these are the 4 house rules. They are simple and they are very concise. Keep it clean. We're not into crass, explicit language here at Chop It Up. Keep it calm. Refrain from using this platform to attack people. Like, cool out. If you feel your blood pressure rise, then go get a drink of water and calm yourself. Number 3, keep it sharp. Refrain from giving too much information. TMI alert. Listen, TMI is not necessary here. Why? Because vulnerability does not necessarily require all of your business being out in the street. Vulnerability is about showing people your heart, not showing people what you do. And then number 4, keep it sharp. Refrain from going off topic in the conversation. We want you to join our live chats right now. They're going on. I'm seeing people hitting us up from different parts of the country. They're letting us know that they're here to chop it up. You can chop it up too, right there, right at your desk, right in your car, right in the privacy of your own home, wherever you at, you could chop it up with us. I'm going to bring back in Pastor Mann so she can tell me, yo, do you remember Keela on Sunday's best.
Sunday's best, yes. Singing with an A and an A and an A, not an I. Singing, yes. Yes, I do.
Yo, it's so huge to watch people that you just see like just gifting oozing out of them, right?
Absolutely.
And be able to share the same space with them later. It's just one of the greatest privileges on the planet.
That's been my favorite part. Like, yeah. That's been my favorite part of us being able to chat. Is like so often you see people up there, you know what I mean? And you see them over there. But when you're able to talk to them and just have an experience with them and just say, hey, like the Jesus I hear in you is also the Jesus I see in you, man, it just helps you connect and relate. And so that's been awesome for me. That's been my favorite part about the panel discussions.
All right, so I'm about to get in a real vulnerable space to tell you the meaningful encounter I've had with the ministry of Keyla Richardson. So she has this joint on YouTube where she's performing, I believe it's in Kentucky, might be Louisville, but she is ministering the song We Serve by J.J. Harrison and Travis Green. And man, I'm sitting in my devotional time, just soaking that thing in. And Pastor Kim, you know, this brother started crying. I mean, I just started crying. Like
you shed tears. You shed real tears.
No. It wasn't just one little dot of moisture, man. My eyes were just streaming as I was listening to her.
Oh wow!
Yo, real men cry and real men wear pink. I'm rocking both of those very vulnerable spaces here this evening. And so, without further ado, I just want to bring her on because I just can't wait for everyone to meet her. Check this out. We got Keyla Richardson. She's in the building. Yo, what's good?
And she's from Pensacola. She's from our territory.
That's your territory?
Listen, we passed her from Florida all the way up to Kentucky. So Pensacola is part of our association. So you know what I'm saying? That's what's up. I used to work in Jacksonville for a while. So I got a little Florida in me.
Yo, so tell me, what's been going on? I mean, what you been into lately?
Well, lately just, we've been in quarantine, having to stay home. And so I just kind of just been taking the time out to write some music, trying to create new ideas. And just, I've been doing a lot of interviews here and just, being mommy. I have a son, a 3-year-old little boy. I'm a single mother. And so just
shout out to the mommies.
Yeah, shout out to the mommies. And I've been in revival all week. So I've been back in church, man, and I've sung my heart out. And so my voice is kind of gone. But just here lately, I just been really just trying to critique my gift and spend more time with God and just really getting that headspace. Just seeing what God want me to do next, even with, millennials and just trying to start something new. So that's what I've been up to.
Yo, man, I'm feeling that. Now I want to tell you that your boy has been watching you since Sunday's Best. Like a lot of people, they see you on these nationally televised shows, and then after the show is over, it's just kind of like distant memory. But I was peeping you on your Sounds of Worship tour, and check this out. You launched that thing January, I believe.
Yeah, January.
And you were rolling through the southern region, and then COVID hit. I'm trying to figure out, what was that like to be in the middle of your tour schedule and then have to deal with this wrench that was put in the plans while you're on tour?
Mercy says.
Oh God, I was so excited about Sounds of Worship tour. That was our first day in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was amazing just to be able to pour out and just being able to use my gift all over the world and not just my local church anymore has been amazing. Louisville for the first time, it was so amazing. God moved and he used me. Like it kind of shook me the way God just really flowed his oil through me. And so it kind of just really frustrated me because Sounds of Worship tour, that first day, I knew that it was going to be amazing from then on out. Like we had a couple of days in Atlanta, Ohio, and I think it was Memphis. And I just hate the fact that we had to stop it. But I believe that Sounds of Worship tour is going virtually. But man, I can't wait to see what God's going to do next through this tour. The person who started the tour, she's amazing. And I'm excited that she chose me to be a part of the tour. I got Tiffany Andrews, we had Mackenzie Thomas, Lena Bird Miles, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
And I looked at, your bio, it's just rich. I'm talking about Kurt Carr singers, the Walls group, some of my favorite people, Leandria Johnson, as well as, man, who am I missing on that list? Man, the cat we just had on Friday, Kalante. You know what I'm saying? So I'm seeing all of these names on there, and I'm like, so how do you keep it humble? How do you stay in the pocket of understanding where your power comes from and where your strength resides? How as you rock in these spaces and God opens up more doors and enlarges your territory, how do you stay focused and grounded?
Oh man, I was just raised to, it's not about me and it's not about anybody else, but it's all about God. Whenever I sing and whenever God sends me somewhere to minister, I'm always making sure that God gets the glory. And that's where my heart is. I pray for the heart, to have a heart for the people. I pray that God gets the glory out of my ministry. I don't care what I got on. I don't care, whatever anybody else got on. I want God to get the glory. And so that's how I'm staying humble, because I realize that God gave me this gift and he can take it away. It's not, I don't have to be arrogant about anything that God is doing for me, because he gave me these platforms. And because I can remember a time where I would cry myself to sleep because I didn't think I was good enough, or I didn't think that, I was called or chosen. God reminded me, and he changed my life within 1 month. Even with Sunday Best, I was ready to give up, ready to throw in the towel, dealing with depression, wanted to commit suicide. And God changed my life within 1 month, within a couple of weeks. And so it keeps me humble, because I realized that, man, I was just in a place about almost a year and a half ago, to where I was crying and begging God, do something for me. God, I need something right now. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I didn't know what I needed at the time, but I just needed God to move in my life, because it's just like, I have a son, and God, I want you to get the glory out of my life. And I know you haven't given me this gift for no reason. And so many lies, it keeps me humble, because I realize nobody but God did this. The place I'm in, nobody but God did this. Went on Sunday Best and top four, and God allowed my first single to be #1 on Billboard charts for 7 weeks in a row. And so that keeps me humble, because I know nobody but God did it. Nobody but God placed me that I have. Nobody but God placed me on the Sunday Best platform. And so I'm always grateful for it, and I'm humble.
So I want to ask you, Keela, what made you make that decision? Like, I'm going to go audition, because a lot of times, especially for young adults, it's kind of like, I got this going on. I got a kid. I got things that I'm doing, and you may have a gift, but for a lot of people, that gift doesn't go any further than they shower. You know what I mean? So what made you say, I'm going to go audition for Sunday's Best? What made you take that step?
Like I said, it's just, man, I can remember it was in February, I believe. I had actually had people, let me go back to this. I had people tagging me, family and friends tagging me that Sunday Best was returning. And so, like I said, at that moment, I was going through such a hard time in my life. I really wanted to give up. I didn't want to sing anymore. I wanted to commit suicide. And just, when you have a child, as mothers, when we have a child, and I woke up one morning and my baby, he was like, "Good morning, Mom, I love you." So I was just like, you know what, I'm going to just get this, because I kept seeing people tagging me. So I said, I'm just giving one last try, God. I said, God, whatever your will is for me, do it, God. Whatever your will is for me. And I tried out, and I did the video submission, and I could not. I was in the country at the time, right? And so I could not get the video to submit. So I called up a friend like, "Hey, man, I'm trying to do this little Sunday Best joint. I'm giving it my last try. I need you to help me." And so he supported my ministry, and he see what was more in me. And so he helped me submit my video. I got a phone call to do the auditions in Atlanta. I got a yes from the producers, and then about a month later, I get a phone call saying, "Hey, Keela, you made the top 20 on Sunday Best." And I can remember like it was yesterday. My mom was sitting at the computer. I jumped over the couch. I was like, "Mom, I got the audition. I got it." And so to God be the glory. I made it all the way to the top 4. And like I said, I'm forever grateful for it. And just that drive, just my son being my biggest motivation, and knowing deep down inside, how you want to give up, but there's something more for you. And so that little push right there gave me that leap. And so I did it. To God be the glory.
That's awesome. Listen, ain't nothing like your child, or there's sometimes nothing like that external push that just challenges you to keep going. And I love your platform because you especially speak to single mothers, you know what I'm saying, as an inspiration that, you know what I'm saying, having a child young doesn't mean that your life is over or that God's plan for you is over, or that, you know what I'm saying, that like all of a sudden everything that God has planned for you is now done. In fact, that was like a catalyst in, you know, getting to where God, you know, really have, you know, wanted you to be. So thank you for continuing to be an inspiration. That's an awesome story for all y'all young people out there. Man, don't sit on your gift. Audition, try out, take the chance, bet on yourself.
Right, and never let nobody tell you what you cannot do. I had friends, I had family to tell me, you know, what I could not do, but never let nobody tell you what you could not do, because you never know what God has in store for you.
Powerful. And, you know, with such a journey, as you just said, Keela, talking about people telling you what you cannot do.
Right.
It sounds like you are tailor-made, my sister, for this evening's Chop It Up topic, which is manufactured versus authentic forgiveness. Now, that is truly the F word of life. I mean, you want an F word that'll mess you up, you need to start looking into forgiveness. Absolutely. One of the most difficult concepts, not only to wrap your mind around, but to actually integrate into your being and begin to walk that thing out. It starts with forgiveness of self, and then forgiveness of others. And then you start embracing the fact that whatever or however you think you failed the creator has already forgiven you. So as you think about forgiveness, Keela, I mean, how has that played a role in you moving forward in not only your gifting, but in chasing after, or really not chasing after, but resting in the purpose that God has for you?
Oh man, I can definitely speak on, you know, the topic of forgiveness, because, you know, one of the things I realized, you know, dealing with people, and like you said, first we have to forgive ourselves. There's a lot of times we battle with the thing where I could have done that differently, or I should have never said that, I should never did that, or, you know what I'm saying, just stuff that we feel we could have did differently. We have a hard time of forgiving ourselves, and it all starts with you. And then when you forgive yourself, you're able to forgive others. And I realized even through my process, man, and it's funny you asked me that, because going through what I was going through, I had to forgive. I realized forgiving unlocks the key to your destiny and unleashes your destiny. Just as God forgive us, we have to forgive others. And so, and I like the fact that even with the things that we, you know, we deal with and go through, like in the Bible, where God was, where Thomas was doubting, you know, God's resurrection. And so God, you know, 7 days later, he showed him his scars, and he did not say wounds. He said scars. That means I got these scars, but it's not going to hold me down. It didn't hold me down. I couldn't stay dead, but I'm alive. I'm here. And I believe God showed his scars as his identity. You know, this is me. My scars are the same way that I'm going to be healed. So that's how I was able to accelerate. One of the things I had to do was forgive. And sometimes we have to forgive without an apology. You got to learn how to forgive without an apology. Everybody not going to come and say, oh, I'm sorry for what I did. But when you're able to forgive, God can open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing. And I realized that. And that's why it's one of the most important things in the Bible. And that's why he speaks about it several times. He said, how many times do I have to forgive? What it said, Pastor? 77 times 7. That's over like 500 sometimes. That means unlimited, because, you know, us being millennials, we don't believe in constantly forgiving people. We have a hard time of doing it for real. Like when someone tells us, we, you know, I'm gonna talk to the millennials in my, you know, in my words, we have a hard time of just, you know, letting things go. When God said, you know, I've already forgiven you, what's the problem? Why you can't forgive that person? You know, I was wounded for your transgressions and bruised for your iniquities. You know, and they say by your stripes, you are healed.
That's good. That's good.
Definitely.
And one thing that I have embraced is that forgiveness is not the process of forgetting. Forgiveness is the process of releasing.
Yes.
It is self-empowerment. It is you saying, I choose of my own free will, because I am the one who has the power to hold this or to let it go. Therefore, you know, you kind of release this thing, releasing it. Now, I do want to admit that even with what we have shared so far, I do think forgiveness is such a huge topic. We got to get some other people in the studio to help us chop this thing up, break it down, and reconstruct it again. So I want to go ahead and start bringing in a couple of people that happen to be my friends. I want to start with my man Kris Ware, our student organizer. Yo, he's student organized at New Life Academy. Kris, yo, give us a shout out, man. What's good, brother?
And
What's up, Kris?
What's up?
You guys having me? I'm happy to be here, man. How you guys doing?
Yo, we good.
I can't complain.
We happy that you're here to take on this monster of a topic. And then I want to bring in one of my bros, one of my co-laborers in the vineyard, Pastor Rashad Burden. Pastor Burden, can you hear us, my brother?
Oh, I can hear you. I hope you can hear me and my shirt. I hope it's bright enough for everybody, so you know
You blended in with the background, Rashad.
we're doing the best we can over here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yo, man, it's great to have you. And so what I want to do is I just want to start right there where we left off with Rashad. I mean, you're dressed for the occasion. You perfectly match our color scheme here at Chop It Up. And so I think that's a sign. That's confirmation that he belongs here. Bro, I mean, how has forgiveness played a role in your life as you have tried to make sense not only of the mess of the world, but even make sense of some of the messes you've made? I mean, how can you go about this process of forgiveness, bro?
Man, it's, of course, I think forgiveness is one of those things that's easier said than done. You can hear about it all day in church, but when someone does you wrong, or maybe even worse, does your family wrong, it's like, how do you not just forgive? And this is something God literally within the last month and a half challenged me with. How do you not only forgive, but how do you heal from the pain caused by the infraction? And something that I've personally realized is sometimes there's no definition to the connection between forgiving and healing. Because you can forgive someone, but does that mean that you've healed from the pain that they may have caused? So it is a thick and a deep concept and action and reality that people have to grapple with, but it is inexcusable. And here's one thing that God has taught me, that one of the reasons forgiveness is so important is because lack of forgiveness is one of the best ways to constipate your faith.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's good.
So that's one of the things that he's laid on my mind, laid on my heart.
That's good stuff, man. And Kris, man, I want to come to you, bro, because Jonathan McReynolds, you know, he just dropped an album not too long ago entitled People. And the title track on that is God, Help Me Forgive All These People, you know? And it's just like, wow, just such a transparent, vulnerable disclosure of where his spiritual journey is taking him right now. You've heard Keela, Richardson already talk about, yo, this has been pivotal for my journey. Kris, how has forgiveness played a role for you as you continue to achieve and to seek actualization of your God purpose?
Yeah, I mean, it's played a humongous role in my life. I mean, now that I'm going into the realm of college, you know, I'm taking time, especially with quarantine going on. It's giving me time to really sit back and look back on, you know, how my high school career went. And I'm thinking, you know, it's hard at the same time because, man, you think about all these situations that happen. It's like, man, this person really hurt me, or this person really did something to me that sticks with you. You know what I mean? But what I've had to realize and learn is that if I want to get to the place and to the purpose that I know God has for me in my life, I have to be able to let that stuff go and to truly, genuinely, like we're saying, authentically forgive those people so I can get to the place that I know God wants me to be at.
Right.
That's good. And, you know, Keela, as you were talking about, you know, we have to forgive ourselves. And then after we forgive ourselves, you know, we can move on to forgiving other people. But one of the things that I have struggled with personally in my walk with God is forgiving God. And we don't talk about that in our walk with Christ, right? We talk about how this person has hurt me, how maybe I've let myself down, but we don't really talk about the intrinsic struggle of a Christian of feeling like I'm angry at God. Like, you let me down. Like, what happened to all them promises I've been quoting, all the songs I've been singing? God just told me if I knocked, you will open the door. This door been closed for like 12 years. Like, what? I'm not. And we don't talk about that. So then when it's time for me to read my Bible or engage in praise and worship, I can't, because there's a part of me that realistically I'm mad at God. So how do I sing praise and worship to you when I feel like you did this to me? You allowed my family to abandon me. You allowed me to get raped. You allowed me to be molested as a child. And we don't talk about how to walk through that kind of forgiveness. We talk about with people. People are human. You know, we got to let that stuff go. But how do I forgive who is supposed to be a perfect God who let imperfect things happen to me? And Pastor Rashad, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I think that
it's difficult, but we're wrestling with it. That's the reality.
Yeah. And I think that that's a deep dive, because I trust, and this is where he's brought me. It took me a while to get away from the church, just run-of-the-mill statements that all things work together. That's Bible, but all things work together. And it's usually, at least for me, it's not until I get to a point where I'm able to see that anything that I've gone through truly has made me who I need to be for whatever moment God has created. So that's the problem. That's one of the challenges. Are we able to see the benefits in our pain? Are we able to see the purpose in our pain? That's kind of the initial angle that I approach that with.
Keela, what do you think? What would you say to somebody who's wrestling with that? Like, girl, I heard your song and I loved it. I'm listening to it, but me and God, we ain't cool right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like, Pastor said, it's all about a level of faith. Faith, I think faith and forgiveness tie into two, because you got to have faith that, man, even though, I'm upset that God, he's still there for me. You got to believe and know that God is still going to bless you. You know what I mean? And I know it's hard. Like you said, it's easier said than done, but it's all about, I believe it's attached to faith. And that's really, Kris, what you got to say about it? Because I believe you got something to say about it. And then go ahead.
I think, man, I feel like I've heard a lot of people ask me questions about this, and I've spoken on it multiple occasions. And, what I keep going back to is I tell people, it's okay to be upset at God. It's okay to go in a room, go somewhere alone and have genuine, real dialogue with God and be like, yo, why am I going through this situation right now? Why did you put me in this place to where you knew it was going to completely damage me? And I think it's important for us to realize that it's okay to be able to have those real discussions, because God wants to hear us. God wants to hear us, like the true, how we're truly feeling, because a lot of times, it's like, oh, well, hey, God has a purpose. There's going to be, it's going to be okay. You're in a good season. And when you're going through that season, that tough season, you don't want to hear that. You just lost a loved one, if you just lost a job, what we're going through right now. I mean, this is a perfect example of nobody wants to hear that, oh, okay, we're going to, it's going to be okay. We're going to have a way out of this, because in reality, you're looking at it, you're like, man, everything just keeps going down, down, and down. It's like, what's next, right? But I think it all really just goes back to what you said with faith. I mean, you have to be able to have faith that the moments that, even if it's just little, but the small moments, even with some people, that they feel like God wasn't really, like I was doing something big in their life. You have to hold on to those moments, and remember those things that he did, that it's gonna happen again, and you're gonna get through it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rashad.
He struck a chord with me. I actually questioned, and this may be vain to me, I questioned the authenticity of someone's relationship with God if they've never been mad with him. I really do, because even if you just step back and read the Bible on the surface, if God tells you to spend 200 years building a boat, You're like, man, you telling me for the next 200 years I'm supposed to be building a boat. You want me to go talk to people that no one else in my immediate community speaks to, and to let them know that judgment is coming, Jonah, and you don't even do anything about it. For the record, having an authentic relationship with God will always end up having you go somewhere, talk to someone that you don't want to do and that you don't want to. And I believe that it's worth reframing that, because an authentic relationship, you're going to have the ups and the downs. I don't know anyone who's dated, anyone who's married, who doesn't go through some time period where you don't want to see their face. You don't want to hear their voice. If anything, your relationship is authenticated by a variety of emotions towards God. You have to be mad at him eventually. I
think it's interesting. God expresses a range of emotions when it comes to us. He be like, you are my children that I love. And then he be like, you hard-headed kids, y'all don't be listening to me. You know what I mean? And I think that it's so interesting. I always say God is big enough to allow us to be mad and him still be God. Like, our emotions do not make God smaller. In fact, our emotions bring God glory, because the range of them encompasses how he has created us to be. And I think that we move, I think in order to really go to a place of forgiveness, you gotta let the emotion out. You gotta go through the phases of being angry and then denial. And then, I mean, forgiveness is almost like going through a grief process.
Right.
Where you have to accept what happened, then you have to process what happened, you sit with what happened, and you come up to the other side, and there's a new normal, a new reality. And so I think that we forget that forgiveness is not something that happens in a moment. Forgiveness is a choice that you have to continue to make as you experience the ebbs and flows of what forgiveness looks like. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So, Keela, I was going to ask you, so as you are embracing this awesome calling of being a mom and being a single mom, how do you navigate, or how have you had to navigate forgiveness, and what does that look like for you? And what would you say to other young women who've had to process forgiveness in real time? I got to do it right now. How do you navigate that?
Well, just realizing that, we talked about just us being upset with God and us just having to forgive. We just have to realize, like the scripture says, all things work together for the good of them that love him, and like you said, forgiveness is just, it's important, because like I believe, like you said earlier, it'll unlock your destiny. It opens up your mind, it opens up your heart. And then one of the things I always say, forgiveness does not mean reconnection. It does not mean reconnection. And forgiveness does not mean, you have to let go or forget what happened. I'm sorry. Forgiveness means you don't have to forget what happened. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean they didn't hurt you. It doesn't mean it didn't bother you. It doesn't mean they didn't do what they said. It doesn't mean they, you know what I mean? So that's just one of the things that, I do.
I received that so much. Mike, go ahead. You want to jump in here?
I sure do, because Keela just put something in my spine. Felt it go from my lumbar system
in your shona
now, right? Because when she talked about, it doesn't mean reconnection. And one of the things I think is very important for us to mention as we deal with the manufactured version of forgiveness is we have to deal with how forgiveness has been over spiritualized to where an individual positions this theme of forgiveness as something that requires me to remain as closely connected with that person as if nothing went wrong and nothing happened. And then they usually drop a text on it. Well, when we sin, God forgets our sins, throws it into the sea. I said, well, you do know the Creator has superpowers that we don't have, don't you?
Right.
I mean, don't compare me to Kal-El, aka Superman. Don't compare me to Superman. I am not from his planet. I don't have his abilities. So when I see him flying around, don't make it sound like I got to fly around too. And I think we have to recognize what Keela is saying is so pivotal, that reconnection is an option. It's a possibility, but it is not a spiritual mandate. What is the mandate is you have to see forgiveness as you releasing negative energy. That's all you're doing. You're saying to yourself, I no longer desire to spend any energy. I no longer desire to output any energy into this direction any longer. I want to free myself from the obsessive compulsive thinking and ruminating I do about this offense, about what happened, about how it went down, about how I'm going to move in the future. I'm going to release myself of that energy expenditure, and then I'm going to find and regain my own internal peace. Internally, I'm going to reclaim that peace. Keela, I don't know if I put words in your mouth, but I feel like that's what you were saying. Were you saying that?
You already said what I was trying to say. Basically, like I said, forgiveness does not require reconnection. It's a choice. Just as he said, and he basically said what I was trying to say. I appreciate you.
It's like he just gave you an alley-oop. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's so true what you said. And I'm so glad that you said it, because one of the biggest issues that I feel like millennials and Gen Z wrestle with, we're trying to be the generation that no longer keeps the secrets, and the generation that frees ourselves from the generational curses and all of those things. But we don't realize a lot of that has to do with forgiveness. It has to do with no longer implementing or putting energy into holding on to things from the past. And I think that's so important, because the idea that I forgive you, so now I got to be close to you again. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And what that does is it creates more damage, because like we put ourselves back in a position to be abused or back in a position to be mistreated. Right. And you would never tell somebody who's getting beat up, like, oh girl, I know your eye is black, but just don't forgive him. You would be like, pack your bag and let's go. You know what I'm saying? And so we do that externally, but we forget that we need to do that for our own spiritual health. That it's okay to forgive, but not have to reconnect. And so I think what you said is so very important, especially when it comes to people who you have to forgive, who you live with. People who you have to interact with on a daily basis. Because it's real easy to forgive the person who makes you mad on Facebook. Like, it's real easy to forgive sometimes that church member who you only see once a week or occasionally. But when the person who hurt you is your parent, when the person who hurt you is your spouse, when the person who hurt you is someone who you're supposed to be leading or whatever, like that's a different kind of wrestling that you have to do when it comes to forgiveness. And that doesn't mean that, hey, uncle, I forgive you for what you did, but we ain't gonna be having Thanksgiving at your house no more. Like, you can't watch my kids. Like, we ain't doing that anymore. Right. And that doesn't make me any less of an authentic Christian, because I'm not choosing to put myself in a position to be hurt.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that makes you smart more than anything. I mean, feeling like you have to, stay. And I love that you brought up the example of, a toxic relationship. I mean, I feel like so many times, you feel like, okay, you forgave the person. Okay, now what? Oh, let me go back to them and try to give them a second chance. There comes a time we have to realize that forgiveness obviously does not mean that you have to keep that individual or that part or that thing in your life. It is okay to let it go and to move forward to better yourself.
And I think that as you mature in your ability to forgive, because I think there's actually levels to it. And I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the 5 love languages. There's actually 5 apology languages. The way that people forgive and feel forgiven are different on an individual level. You have expressing regret, accepting responsibility, making restitution, genuinely repenting. And people, there are some people, and I'm actually one of these people, who all you have to do is say that you're sorry. And as you mature, and Pastor Polite made a DC reference, I believe that forgiveness is a power. And with great power comes great responsibility.
Is that Spider-Man?
How is he gonna reference Superman? I don't. I'm a Marvel guy, so I felt some type of way when he referenced Superman. So I was like,
Spider-Man right there.
Listen, I could grab something else, but we're gonna leave that be. But but the fact of the matter is, as you mature in your forgiveness, how should I say it? You learn that sometimes the people you forgive and put at a distance were actually taking up space that they were never supposed to take up in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that to truly, not to just forgive, but of course when we started, we talked about the connection between forgiving and healing. In order for you to heal after your forgiveness, there's a space, a wound that has to have distance from the poison that was helping it to fester. And I believe that that's a knowledge that has to come to us all over time, that, hey, your very presence isn't just toxic to me, but your very presence wounds me without you even saying anything.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
And did y'all hear that? Like that sometimes it's people who are taking up space who were never meant to be there in the first place. And sometimes God has to allow the wound for us to be able to recognize that this is somebody who needs to go, because on our own, we would have never distanced ourselves from that person or that thing. We would have just kept allowing ourselves to be hurt. We would have just kept allowing ourselves to enter into that cycle. Hurt, you know what I'm saying? Hurt, repeat, hurt, repeat. And I think sometimes God has to allow that critical wound for us to be like, oh, snap. Like, you didn't just pinch me, you stabbed me. Like, and you meant to do that? So you don't need to be in this space in my life anymore. And I think that, I always say the only thing that grows in the dark is mold.
My Lord.
And I think that when things come out, when hurt comes out, when things are exposed, that's when the healing begins. And I think sometimes we have to recognize that forgiveness is just as much as a gift to us as it is, in terms of our relationship with God. So forgiveness doesn't just help your relationship with God to grow. It literally helps you to grow. Like, I don't know if you've ever really felt stress inside of you. Your edges start falling out. You get the bags under your eyes. You start feeling not good because you're holding all of that inside of you,
Yeah. Like dead weight. And when you forgive, it's like you're able to release the dead weight, and you're able to make more room for peace, make more room for understanding what God is trying to say and what he's trying to show you. And so, yeah.
I received that. Kris, I was going to ask you, and so you are getting ready to go to college, correct?
Correct.
So how do you, as you're navigating from being at home or whatever and going out into the world, how do you see yourself experiencing or moving into this authentic Christianity? And has forgiveness had to play a role in that for you?
That's a good question. I mean, most definitely. Answer to that question is most definitely. I think if it wasn't for forgiveness, if it wasn't for me forgiving people in my life, I wouldn't be at the place I'm at right now. I wouldn't have the mindset of, okay, I'm going into this new chapter, this new area of my life, but I'm confident because I know that I experienced what I experienced for a reason, right? And I know that God has a plan for me every step of that way. So, I mean, and I realize there's going to be some ups and downs with it. And I'm still going to have to continue to remember, what we're talking about right now. I have to remember this exact conversation. But, I think it's just a matter of going into it with an open mindset and, realizing that, at the end of the day, the man upstairs, he knows what he's doing, and just believing that and trusting it.
Mm-hmm. And I want to thank you for that, because I think one of the things, especially as adults, sometimes we do to our young people is we make it seem as though your hurt is not real or relevant because you're young.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you ain't really been through nothing. You don't have no bills to pay. You ain't got, but it's like, I mean, pain starts as children. And so I think that we have to recognize that, like, pain doesn't just happen when you become an adult. In fact, you spend the majority of your adulthood trying to work through the pain that happened to you as a kid, you know? So I received that authenticity of acknowledging that even as a young person moving from high school to college, you had to navigate forgiveness on you, you know, in your own ways.
Yep.
I'm about to drop something on y'all that's going to change your life as it pertains to forgiveness. You probably haven't heard of it. It's actually a Polynesian word. It's called ho'oponopono.
You ready to catch it? Okay,
okay.
I'm ready.
You need to catch like this because it's coming at you fast. Okay. It's a Polynesian word. We get it from the Hawaiian language, which is ho'oponopono. Okay, and ho'oponopono is the practice of looking at things that are really grinding you as it pertains to grudges you're holding, things that you can't let go of, right? And what ho'oponopono does, it takes you through 4 steps. The first step is you tell the person, listen to this, you tell the person who offended you, I'm sorry. Right, now this is coming from the Polynesian culture on how to rid yourself of these negative ties to bad things that have happened, right? And
let me get my notebook out because I need to take notes about
ho'oponopono. First, you look at that situation and you say, I'm sorry. Now, you're not taking blame for it, but what you might say is, I'm sorry that I wasn't mature enough at that moment to stand up for myself. And that's why that continued. Or I'm sorry that I still had a couple of lessons to learn before I gained the ability to step back and make a better decision than to be in contact with you in that moment. I'm sorry, right? You look at it and you start assessing that space and you say, I'm sorry. And then check this out. You then look at that scenario, experience, person, or occurrence, and you say, please forgive me. Ho'oponopono. First, you say, I'm sorry. Then you say, please forgive me. And then you imagine whatever that experience was, that person, you imagine that they say, I forgive you. And then you imagine yourself telling yourself, I forgive you. See, a lot of times we don't realize that when we get into this space where it's hard to let go of some negative experience, there's a part of that that's tapping into your own shame and guilt. So you have to be able to forgive yourself. So you say, forgive me to that situation, and you say, forgive me to yourself. The final 4th step, first you say, I'm sorry. Then you say, please forgive me. Third, you say, thank you. And you imagine yourself looking at yourself in the mirror or looking at that person, that occurrence, and you say, thank you for that forgiveness. I needed it to move on. Thank you for that. And the final step is to look at it and say, I love you. That's right. Ho'oponopono. This is coming from Polynesian culture. They say if you really want to break that tie, first you look at it and you say, I'm sorry. Second, then you say, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Third, you say, thank you for that forgiveness. And fourth, you say, I love you. So if you've disappointed yourself and you just can't get over that bad decision you made, then you go through this 4th step. I'm sorry. Forgive me. You say this to yourself. Then you say, thank you. Thank you for forgiving me. I needed it to move on. And then you end it by saying, I love you. So you would tell yourself, and I still love you. I still accept you. I still want you. I still value you. If it was a person that hurt you, if it was an experience that hurt you, you go through these 4 steps. And what Ho'oponopono says is that in a very spiritually mystical way, and I've tried this, in a spiritually mystical way, that grudge will just start releasing off of you. And you'll feel that thing release off of you. No, it's not that you'll forget it. It's that it won't have the hold on you that it used to have. Ho'oponopono. Awesome. What do y'all think about that joint coming straight to us from the Polynesian Pacific?
Man. I love that, because one of the problems with pain that someone causes you is that eventually it tries to mimic identity. And
Ooh,
yeah,
that's real.
like, I don't know if you've ever run into someone who their very personality is constructed around what someone did to them that hurt them. And I think the Ho'oponopono, what that walks you through is releasing yourself of what I'll call a victim identity. Like, people walk around feeling like not just the person who hurt them owes them something, but everyone around them owes them something. And I think that that's one of the differences between the manufactured and the authentic forgiveness. If you manufacture that you forgive someone or that you forgive yourself, you will still continue to walk around with that victim identity. Your pain will define who you are rather than the purpose that God has placed in your life. I love that. I love that.
That's real. I see you over there testifying. You said yes. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Just like what Pastor said was just like hit the nail on the head for me, man. Like, it's just that, God, that hit the nail on the head for me, because I'm still in the process to where, I'm learning. We all are still learning, forgiveness. And what you said, that helped me. And so at this moment, I'm listening at this moment. You helped me. So I want to know what else you have to say, Pastor, because that was really good. That really did something. And that did something for me.
So I what I could add to that is, I think one of the ways that the Bible presents to us to frame pain that has been exacted on us, that the wrong that someone has done us, is one of the ways the Bible gives us to frame it is that, of course, God, it is how I say it, God sometimes allows our pain to be somebody else's prescription. That sometimes the pain that we experience once we've truly forgiven somebody, God, of course, will then take it and have it be the literal antidote to somebody else's pain. And it's like, I can't be a doctor. I can't pass on this medicine to change your life if I'm still bitter about what I've been through. If I'm still walking around acting like the victim in every situation. Victims are always looking to be saved. Once you get out of being a victim, you begin to try to be a hero. I should have pulled the Spider-Man mask right there, but we're going to keep it pushing.
Rashad, if I see you put on a Spider-Man mask, I'm taking a screenshot right. Y'all got ready, because I'm taking a screenshot right then.
I receive your threat. I will not leave it out.
But I receive what you're saying, because I think, and especially as Christians, so many of us encounter people who are like mean and they're bitter or they're angry. And we be like, why you talk to me like that? Like, I ain't even do nothing to you. And not realizing it's because their identity is now found in their unforgiveness. I have become my pain. I have become my bitterness. I have become my anger. And because I've been angry for so long, I don't even know how not to be angry anymore. And it's something that I said the other night, that like I truly believe that's why in Revelation God says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, by sharing, by letting people know that I have gone through this hurt or I've gone through this pain, that hey, like, I know what you're going through. I know how you feel, and you are not alone. And I believe that a big step in our forgiveness is being able to tell somebody else that despite the fact that you're hurt, you will heal. And the reason why I know, you were saying, you see my scar? You see my scar? I was hurt the same way and I healed. So I know that you're going to be able to heal too. And I think that's why we can't forgive in the closet.
Yeah,
that's why I think that we can't forgive in the dark, that we have to, like Mike was saying, we have to bring those grudges and those feelings to the light, so that way that light can shine on them and we can say, hey, we can see other people who are going through what we're going through. You know what I mean? But Mike, I see you jump back on. I ain't gonna lie to you, Mike. Can I just be authentic real quick? That hapana listen, that to me, I'm gonna have to go in my prayer closet on that.
That's
because the reality is that when we've been hurt, we don't want to say I'm sorry to the person who hurt us. We are waiting for an apology from them. But the beautiful thing about Jesus is that he is both the apology and the forgiveness.
Ooh,
he's the apology and the forgiveness. So
you gotta talk that talk. You gotta talk that talk.
Listen, I've had to realize he is the I'm sorry that I'll never get from a human.
Yes. Come on,
and so he says, I'm sorry for the hurt they caused you. Take it out on me. Be mad at me. So he becomes then the attacker. That's what the cross is about. That he says, I'm going to be the apology that you never received. So listen, I'm struggling with that hapana. But we're gonna pray about it, okay?
Listen, you are at the doorstep of the kingdom right now, because you referenced the biblical story that best illustrates Ho'oponopono. And it's the idea that not only is Jesus the apology that we will never receive, but Jesus is also the apology we will never give. And that's what Ho'oponopono is really tapping into. It's a spiritual mystery of you deciding to let it go instead of allowing it to master you for the rest of your life. So what does Christ say in a moment where everybody should be apologizing to him? What does he say? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Ho'oponopono. He's saying, I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry you got to watch this. I'm sorry you have to see this. I'm sorry for how this is hurting you, Dad. So forgive them. They just don't know what they're doing. It's Christ giving an apology that we also will never give. And Ho'oponopono is one of the most powerful practices that I have ever encountered. And I've actually used it. I sat for 3 hours straight one day, cleansing myself of my past with Ho'oponopono. And I think I've used Ho'oponopono for about close to 10 hours now. Of just going in my past and cleaning that stuff out, of going back there and saying, yo, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, and I love you, which is the hardest part of Ho'oponopono, looking at that thing and saying, I love you. And so what we're going to do now, though, is, it's sad, but it's true. We got to start wrapping this joint up here, chop it up. And so what I want to do is I want to go around the panel and just hear each person's kind of like last takeaway on this idea of a manufactured forgiveness versus an authentic forgiveness. I want to hit you up first, Kris, and then I want to come to Rashad, and then Keela, I want you to finalize us by just dropping a word on us, putting a ribbon on this beautiful gift that God has given us called forgiveness. So, Kris, I mean, what are the lasting impressions that you're leaving this conversation with?
You know, I've been thinking in my head, and there's a quote. I felt like I made it up. I'm pretty sure it's been said before, but it's not about perfection but progression. And I think that applies so well in this, because we have this mindset that, okay, we have to be this perfect person to forgive right away, but you can realize at the same time that it is a process and that it's going to take time to get to that place. But we put the work in to get to that place. It's better for us. We're doing ourselves a favor by forgiving the people who hurt us.
For me, what comes to my mind, one of my favorite preachers, pastors, he told a story about two friends that were traveling through the desert, and one friend, for one reason or another, punched the other friend, and the friend that got hit knelt down in the sand and wrote in the sand, "Today, my friend hit me." And then, as they were traveling in the desert, The friend who had gotten hit ended up fainting, and the friend that was with him gave him some water and revived him. He woke up and found a stone and wrote in the stone, "Today, my friend saved my life." Because the things that hurt you should be able to blow away, and the things that help you should be written in stone. And I think that as we learn to be authentic in our forgiveness, that we'll truly learn that with great power comes great responsibility, and that each of us have been given power to forgive each other. And Kim, this is for you. Kim, I had to keep this time for the one time.
Yes!
It's gone. It's too late.
Well, y'all know I'm churchy, so I'm a PK. So I'm gonna leave this panel. I'm gonna leave it with a scripture, story in the Bible that I found, was very necessary for this topic. And it's Matthew 18:23. It says, "Therefore the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all of that he had and all that he had been able to sold to repay the debt. At this, the servant fell on his knees before him. 'Be patient with me,' he begged, 'and I will pay back everything.' The servant master took pity on him and canceled the debt and let him go. When that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. He grabbed him and began to choke him. 'Pay back what you owe me,' he demanded. His fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, 'Be patient with me, and I will pay it back.' 30 goes on to say, but he refused. Instead, he went off and had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. But when the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged and went and told their master everything that had happened. Then the master called the servant in. 'You wicked servant,' he said, 'I canceled all that debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you?' Mm-hmm. In anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay all he owed. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or your sister from your heart." And that's all I got to say.
Mercy. That story sums it up. You know what I mean? So often we hold forgiveness away from somebody because what they owe us feels so big, not realizing that what we owe God is so much bigger.
Right.
And our ability to recognize our own humanity, I think is so important. And I just wanted to, kind of just end with something that that Pastor Polite said in that model. At the very end, you say, "I love you" to yourself. And I think for so many of us, the reason we wrestle with forgiveness is because we have not made amends with ourselves. Right. And so speaking life into yourself through the process of forgiveness, speaking affirmations into yourself through the process of forgiveness, it helps you to heal, to be able to put a sticky note on your mirror that says, "I am beautiful, I am loved, I am cherished, I am worth waking up in the morning for." Those kinds of things, so that as you are navigating through the process of forgiveness, when the enemy tries to come in and say, "Oh, but you messed up," or "Oh, but you didn't," or "Oh, but this happened," you can continue to speak those affirmations into yourself and into your destiny, into your future, by literally putting out positive vibes of forgiveness towards yourself.
I mean, this thing is just like, it's really causing a brother to step back and say, forgiveness is the act of identifying your humanity and recognizing the humanity in someone else. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. It's about allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to be human. Mm-hmm. And then recognizing that the only expectation you can have of another person is for them to be human. Mm-hmm. And it's the expectations that we have of each other to be divine that probably disappoint us the greatest. We expect perfection not only of ourselves, but of others. And then we are just ruthlessly disappointed when our hearts get broken, or there's some type of occurrence in our life that really devastates us. And so with that being said, forgiveness can be somber for some, but I do hope that as we chopped it up here this evening, some of you heard forgiveness maybe in a new light, where you are starting to see that forgiveness could actually be a celebration. It's really you exerting your power of choice. The most powerful thing in the universe is your power to choose. You can choose what you hold on to. You can choose what you let go of. And I pray through the power of your creator that you have the courage to let go of all things that are holding you back in life. And so without further ado, we have to usher our panel off stage, but we're going to do it, chop it up 2020 style. I'm going to ask you all to just throw up some deuces right now. Just say deuces to everybody that you see. Say deuces. Let them know peace be upon you. Peace be upon your dog. Peace be upon your fish. Peace be upon your family. Yo, tell them deuces. Yo, we thank you. Rashad, Kris, Keela, thank you so much for helping us chop it up as it pertains to this thing called forgiveness. Now, Kim, as I think about us being on episode 3, we have some work to do as we close out and wrap up. We promised some people in episode 2 that there was going to be some prize money given out for those who participated in our afternoon first ever virtual scavenger hunt. There's some money gained by somebody out there, or actually a group of 5 out there. So
no more than 5.
With the drum roll happening, can you please help us announce our scavenger hunt winners?
All right, everybody. So we have had some amazing teams compete, and I'm going to pull up the leaderboard right now. All right, so we had 10 teams. Now, I'm going to start with from the bottom to the top, okay? So in 10th place was Team Eve with 14,955 points. 9th place, Team Adam with 15,265 points. 8th place was the Samsonites with 15,935 points. Next, 7th place, the Goodish Samaritans, 16,235 points. 6th place was Team Grillers, 16,305 points. 5th place was Them Disciples with 16,445 points.
Ho. Yes. Did you just say 16 plus 1,000 points only gets you 5th place in this?
Yes. Yes.
My goodness.
But it was so close. When I tell y'all, it was so close. It was so close. So like the 4th place winners are the Water Walkers, and they only ended up in 4th place by 30 points. So the 40 points. So the Water Walkers had 16,485. In 3rd place was Team Stripples with 16,685 points. In 2nd place, Raiders of Noah's Ark with 16,935 points. And our 1st place winners, Team VeggieTales.
Woo! VeggieTale.
16,985 points. Team VeggieTales. So I will be sending out a message to Team VeggieTales so that they can send me their information so that we can get your prize money to you. Congratulations, Team VeggieTales. You guys did that, man. I can't wait for you guys to see some of the wonderful submissions you guys sent in. That joint was hilarious. And so thank you all for participating. I got lots of great feedback that your young people have fun, that you guys have fun. So yeah, shout out to Team VeggieTales. You are our 1st place winner, and you're going to get a message on your app letting you know what to do next so you can get your prize money. Oh,
goodness.
Pastor Polite, I forgot to tell them.
Oh, yes, you did.
We had an anonymous donor who said, I want to sprinkle some extra love in the young people's pockets.
We like extra love.
Donated an extra $125 to the pot. And so we have an extra $125 that will be given to the winning team. And like, God is just good. So listen, y'all, we have people in our conference who love our young people, who are rooting for them. And if y'all like this, we're going to do it again. All right. So don't worry, because I know we got a spirit of competition in our church. Y'all try to act like you don't, but y'all got a spirit of competition, because I'm about to get texts right now like, why we ain't win? Did you add up all my points? Yes, I did. And that's who won. Don't text me. So, so we're going to do it again. So that way you guys can have your teams and we can have a good time. This was awesome. So thanks to everyone who participated. Team VeggieTales, you'll be getting a message on how to cash in on your winnings.
Yo, all I gotta say to Team VeggieTales is, if you want to talk to tomatoes, yo, congratulations, my people. I think the anointing of God was on you just from the name alone. Just from the name alone, I hear anointing in it. Congratulations, Team VeggieTales, for winning our premier virtual scavenger hunt. Hope you had fun. Listen, I hope you all see this as a tool that you could use. Whether it's your youth ministry group, whether it's your small group ministry, whether it's your whole church. What would it look like if a whole church got together and said, on this coming Sunday, we're going to have a virtual scavenger hunt? You can access it as well, thegoosechase.com. Well, actually, not just www.goosechase.com. And you can use this tool. We hope you use it to build community in a time of social distancing, as well as just lift the vibrations and the enthusiasm of your sphere of influence. Thank you again, Pastor Kim, for the innovative idea. It was huge for us. And we thank you also for being a part of Chop It Up 2020. We are going to put this thing in the books. And let me tell you all, wow, what a time we have had. We started out talking about life on Friday night. And then this afternoon, we talked about religion. And then finally, we chopped it up talking about forgiveness. And when I tell you, I've just enjoyed every second of Chop It Up 2020. I am being honest with you. I've enjoyed this. So let us know in the chat if you enjoyed this concept, if you think this is something you would love to see return, maybe come back, maybe have a second season and a second run. Then let us know in the chat. Say, yo, love the concept. Keep it going. Give us some encouragement. Leave us some words of affirmation that we can use to almost get our energy back up and say, yo, let's do this again sometime. As it pertains to from my standpoint, what does life, religion, and forgiveness have in common? Us, people. When we say life, we're talking about the life we live. When we say religion, we're talking about the spirituality we lead. When we say forgiveness, we're talking about the stuff we decide to hold on to or to let go. And if there's anything Chop It Up wants you to know is that there is a power within you that most people on the planet never discover because they're so focused on the externals, the external aggravations, the external offenses, the external worries and anxieties. They're so focused in that space that they never get to the place where they truly begin to hold on to their own inner power. To feel the empowerment of God within you is the whole story of the 66 books of the Bible. For as Paul wrote in the book of Colossians chapter 1, for it is God in you that gives you hope for glory. The glory of God is already in us. And as we grab hold of it, that's when life starts to go to a whole nother level. And so from Chop It Up 2020, that's episode 3. It's in the books. But listen, we're not going to end it off there. We got to end it off with our theme song. I've been getting some people hitting me up like, yo, that song is dope. Yo, that message is dope. Yo, that video is dope. And so for one more time, I just want to invite you to watch our young Christian believer take on a world that is hurting and fighting over all of its differences and unify all of these people with one smart camera as she takes her artistic fervor for photography and turns it into a ministry that unites others. Thank you for being a part of Chop It Up 2020, and we hope to see you in season 2 sometime in the near future. May God bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you, and may you find the peace that passes all understanding.
When I look into the face of my enemy, I see my brother. I see my brother. When I look into the face of my enemy, I see my brother. I see my brother. Forgiveness is the garment of our courage, the power to make the peace we long to know. Open up our eyes to see the wounds that bind all of humankind. May our shudder hearts greet the dawn of light with charity and love. When I look into the face of my enemy, I see my see my brother.